contact, case code 24 clear.
Good evening and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net, the most interesting net in two-way radio. Tonight we're live from Studio Vanguard and we are linked in with the following repeaters.
Tonight we are linked in with Cates Cove, Watkinsville, Lula, Vanguard. Well, we're in Vanguard. Sorry about that. Flagship, Buckhead, Toccoa, Fort Mountain, Rome, Jersey, Zebulon, Columbus, Noonan, Peachtree, Dallas, Lookout Mountain, Chattanooga, White Oak Mountain, Mount Roosevelt, Ottawa, and Georgetown.
This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I would like to thank all of you who've made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Your net control tonight is Atlanta 947, WQIR 514. My name's Julie.
In Atlanta 946, WQIR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is WSAL 368, Atlanta 263. My name is Rogers.
And this is WRUB 711, Atlanta 519. My name is Gary.
On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we would like to hear. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Guest check-ins are welcome from anyone with a valid FCC call sign. Once the floor is open, it is permissible to address other members of the net by their name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in and when you sign out of the net. Also, you can tune in to our YouTube channel and follow along, or better yet, tune in after the net to hear how you sound to us right here on the network in Studio Vanguard. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment so we know you are watching. These interactions mean the most to help our channel grow. So tonight's topic, we're going to talk about terroristic threats, attacks.
That stuff seems to happen.
A little more than we like to think.
Right.
But before we do, we're going to go ahead and pass it off to Mike for this week's announcements. Mike, are you there and available?
Blue Ridge 63, are you able to give us the announcements?
Blue Ridge 63, WRWM 344. Yes, I am standing by. I hadn't heard anything, including the kickoff for the net. Have you kicked things off?
Well, I thought we did. Did anybody else hear Julie's introduction?
No. 313, that's negative. Negative.
All right. Well, we may have had a little snafu here then. We're going to do it again. What do you think? Can you scroll back up into the teleprompter to get, is there a reset on that thing?
I think we can handle this.
All right. Do it.
All right. Let's try this again. So good evening and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net, the
Take
most
two.
interesting net in two-way radio, because you never know what's going to happen. Tonight we are live from Studio Vanguard and we're linked in with the following repeaters.
Tonight we're linked in on Flagship, Cates Cove, Watkinsville, Lula, Buckhead, Toccoa, Fort Mountain, Rome, Jersey, Zebulon, Columbus, Noonan, Peachtree, Dallas, Lookout Mountain, Chattanooga, White Oak Mountain, Mount Roosevelt, Ottawa, and Georgetown.
He sounded rehearsed this time.
That sounded like I practiced that time.
This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I would like to thank all of you who have made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Your net control tonight is Atlanta 947, WQIR 514. My name is Julie.
Excuse me. Atlanta 946, WQIR 514. My name is Justin.
And Atlanta 263, WSAL 368. My name is Rogers.
And WRUB 711, Atlanta 519. My name is Gary.
On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we would like to hear. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Guest check-ins are welcome from anyone with a valid FCC call sign. Once the floor is open, it's permissible to address other members of the net by their name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in and when you sign out of the net. Also, you can tune in to our YouTube channel and follow along. Or even better, tune in after the net to watch your appearance on the network and hear how you sound to us right here in Studio Vanguard. Remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment so we know you were watching. These interactions mean the most to help our new channel grow. So tonight, as I mentioned earlier, our topic is terroristic threats, attacks, that kind of stuff.
And what's the plan?
And what's your plan? That's right. But before we jump into that, we're going to go ahead and leap over to Blue Ridge.
Blue Ridge 63, Free Salad.
Free Salad, that's right. Are you ready, Free Salad, to give us this week's announcements? Yeah?
Well, good evening, Julie and Justin, Gary and Rogers. This is Blue Ridge 63, WRW 344, live from Blue Ridge. I do have this week's announcements ready to go. And before I get into that, I thought I'd give a reminder for anyone about our merch store still being open. You can visit nggmrs.org from the homepage and click on the More button, and you'll see the link to the merch store right there. They have marked items down, so it's as good of a time or better than any to buy a couple things. Once these items are gone, they are gone. I've got to note that if you order before the upcoming Chattanooga Ham Fest and you select in-store pickup, we can bring them to you at the Ham Fest and save you a few bucks on shipping. Justin says that he placed an order and there's some great items left still in stock, so grab yours while you can. The last chance to order for delivery to Hamfest, if you plan to be at the Chat Hamfest, will be this coming Monday, September 29th. So if you want free delivery, pick it up at the Hamfest. September 29th is your last day to order. There is a $2,000 reward being offered for information leading to an FCC action related to the intentional interference that's been happening on the network. That go a long way toward upgrading your station. If you have information, please send it to Gary at nggmrs.org or Justin at nggmrs.org. North Georgia GMRS Network, got ahead of myself, has a not-so-secret secret, the North Georgia Amateur Radio Association, NGARA. It's our new radio group, available to licensed amateurs only, comprised of 5 amateur 440 and 2-meter repeaters this year, with 5 more repeaters coming online next year. We've secured coordination for 10 repeaters across North Georgia to make it the largest, most active linked amateur repeater network in the country. This network is separate from NGGMRS and requires a separate membership. You can go to ngara.net for more information, including repeater coverage maps and a list, as well as a link to acquire your membership. Memberships purchased between now and sometime after the Stone Mountain Ham Fest will have the distinction of being founding members. That means that you were here from the start. For those interested in becoming a licensed amateur radio operator, early next year, we'll begin offering free exams to those wishing to upgrade from GMRS. Let us know if you're interested. Send an email to Justin at nggmrs.org, and he'll help find the closest testing location to you. Let me break. But if you can't wait that long, and for those that won't make it to the Chattanooga GMRS Fest, there is a ham cram coming up this weekend, Saturday the 27th. You can take the class and the test. You can take the class or the test for the technician license all in one weekend. This ham cram is being hosted in conjunction with the Fayette Parks and Recreation this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Fayette County Government Complex in Fayetteville, Georgia, located at 140 Stonewall Avenue, Suite 209A. There is a small fee for the class, $5 for Fayette County residents and $7.50 for non-residents. You can register online using the link at the event's Facebook page, or if you have questions, you can contact Mary Catherine Domaleski, K-I-4-H-H-I, at mdomaleski, that's D-O-M-A-L-E-S-K-I, at FayetteCountyGA.gov, or you can give a phone call to 770-716-4324. But if you're planning to go to the Chattanooga GMRS Fest, hit the study guide and take your test there. There will be another opportunity at the Stone Mountain Ham Fest in November. All right, let's move on to the section about upcoming gatherings. Pay attention and write these on your calendar if you're interested. These meetups are a great way to meet fellow members in and around your area. First up, the Kennesaw Gathering. They'll have their next Meet and Geek in October on Tuesday, October 14th at noon at the Old Town Grill on Cobb Parkway, right around the corner from the McCollum Airport in Kennesaw. You can bring your radio if you've got a programming issue to discuss or resolve on October 14th. Ed and crew will have a mobile test bench available after lunch where they can test and program the most popular radios. Please reach out to Ed, Atlanta 557 beforehand, on the air or via email at wrqg806@gmail.com if you're planning to attend, so that he holds enough seats and makes sure that he can bring the right programming cables and software if you need help with your radio. The Peachtree Corners Brunch Bunch meets the third Saturday of every month at JR's Log House in Peachtree Corners, which was last Saturday. The next date for the next meetup will be October 18th for the next lunch. They had a great group of 11 this week, and our special guest, Dale, Atlanta 870 from the ERC net. They all had a fun time and look forward to seeing you all next month. Again, that date is Saturday, October 18th for the next one. If you have any questions, reach out to Pamela, Atlanta 849, or Ernest, Atlanta 848, or send an email to skygazerpamela849 at gmail.com. Let me break. New addition to our YouTube page. For those of you watching the live stream, you may have seen it pop up in your feed. If you haven't had a chance, take a look. Our very own Rogers, Atlanta 261, put together a great video recapping the Meshtastic workshop held by Ed, Atlanta 557, and it's now available for you to rewatch if you couldn't make it on our YouTube page. Thanks to the team that put that together. Thanks for Rogers for the video. And if you're interested in Meshtastic, take a look at that. Spoke earlier about the Chattanooga Ham Fest, so we'll get into that now. The details. That is coming next weekend, Friday, October 3rd, and Saturday, October 4th. The Chattanooga Amateur Radio Club and NGGMRS have joined together to host this year's Ham Fest at a great new venue called The Colonnade in Ringgold, Georgia. This year's GMRS Fest will feature several speakers and forums from NGGMRS, along with topics including GMRS dipole antennas, Meshtastic, radios and preparedness, and GMRS for beginners. North Georgia GMRS, Hobbit Communications, and NGARA will be among the many vendors at the first GMRS Fest this year. If you're able to volunteer either Friday or Saturday or both, please send an email to Justin at nggmrs.org. Our mobile studio Vanguard will be at the Ham Fest, set up to operate both GMRS and 2-meter. It'll be a great opportunity to see a state-of-the-art system in the comforts of Vanguard and to see it fully set up and working in its operational state. One of the Vanguard crew will be there to show you around, answer questions, and show you the technology behind this Thursday evening net. We're looking for talk-in operators to volunteer to work out of Vanguard for both GMRS and the 2-meter band on those talk-in frequencies. If you can volunteer, again, that email, justin@ngmrs.org. Next Friday, October 3rd from noon to 6 p.m. and then Saturday, October 4th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. General admission for 18 and over is $10 a head, and youth under 18 are free. That admission is good for both days of the show. So if you're interested in taking a hand test, getting your license, you can do that there. There's always the Boneyard where you can find great deals. And you can mix and mingle with those of us from NGGMRS, NGARA, and Hobbit Communications next weekend. For full details, hamfestchattanooga.net is the website with all the information. That's it. If you have any questions, comments, or news to share, please send an email to justin@nggmrs.org. I'll see you next week. All right, Julie, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mike. As you all can tell, there's a lot going on.
Was Mike getting a haircut?
Kind of sound like it, didn't it?
Like
You could hear the
buzz
buzz,
cut.
buzz.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, Mike, just let me know if you need your haircut. I'd be happy to cut your hair for free.
But we only know one style.
Well, there is only one style.
There is for you. Anyway, we'll move on to Julie's tips. So, as I mentioned earlier, this week we are talking about terroristic attacks and what's the plan. Because let's face it, mass shootings, sharpshooters, assassinations, car bombings, etc., all are becoming very familiar topics on the evening news outlets. Don't say it could never happen here, because it has. So do you have a plan? Will you bug out? Will you hold out? Are you prepared for the what ifs? What if it's another major natural disaster like some of our past hurricanes, and the interstate highways as well as many other roads are impassable? What if it's a nuclear attack? What if you're at the store and a mass shooter starts taking customers out? Do you know where the exits are? What about the back doors? Do you know the run, hide, fight? What if your kids are at school and it's in lockdown, but you don't know why? Do they know to text you? Have you established pickup zones in case they need to leave the campus? All of these things are unfortunate realities of this modern age. The social and political issues that got us here are beyond the scope of this discussion and are unlikely to get us beyond the possibility of these nightmares turning into a reality. That leaves us with little to do but plan. The run, hide, fight plan is often talked about at corporate offices and church environments. The idea is that if an active shooter engages in an area where you are, the first thing you should do is run. Get out of there as fast as you can. If that's not an option, they tell you to hide. Barricade yourself into a room if you can, and be very quiet. But if that's not possible, they also say your only option left is to fight your way out. Situational awareness becomes so important today. Take note of everything and everyone around you. Each object you encounter should be evaluated as a hazard or a haven. Can you get behind it if you need to? Let me break. Can it be locked? Will it be unsafe? And take note of the people. You'd be surprised who's armed and who isn't. Try to learn who can help you defend a position and who will panic and become a danger if things get bumpy. Most importantly, think carefully about how you might respond and work out a response. Seek out active shooter classes and consider joining a preparedness group. Even some self-defense training would be beneficial. These are just a few things to think about during tonight's net, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts in tonight's conversation. We need to be able to defend and protect ourselves in this ever-changing age, and this is how we become the best operators on the nation's largest, most advanced GMRS network. And remember, if you have any questions or suggestions for new user tips and operating procedures, send me a note at julie@ngmrs.org. We are North Georgia GMRS Network, and this is Atlanta 947, WQIR 514. My name is Julie, and I'm clear.
Well, thanks a lot, Julie. Those that gives us a lot to think about. So there's a lot of material there in terms of, it's not just being prepared for a 9/11 style terror attack. It could be any of a number of things, and it could be just as local as, a mass shooting event. It seems like there was one just on the news today in New York. It just every day it seems like there's something somewhere. So. And as you pointed out, it's not like it'll never happen here, because we've had school shootings right here within our region. We've had a number of events happen over the last few years. Hurricane Helene came through and just did tremendous damage to our neighbors just to the north. And it's not as though we're immune to any of this. So to talk about it, to think about it, and to plan for it, and to have some level of preparedness, I think is an appropriate thing to talk about during the September month of preparedness. So thanks for the tips, and at this time let's go ahead and grab some additional check-ins. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right.
Good night.
All right. Well, at this time, let's go ahead and continue with the check-ins. Anyone wishing to check in from any repeater other than flagship, please call net control now.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck.
This is Atlanta 244 WSIC 587. Adam in Covington off of Jersey. I am in and out.
Net control. This is Gainesville 62 WRYD 690 checking in and out. Julie, great preparedness talk.
This is Robert, WSI 977, Donna 24. We're on the Zeppelin repeater, and we will be in and out.
Okay, control, try one more time. Socola 33, WRTS 814, Matthew up here, Pickens County, South Carolina. You can check me in and out tonight. WSFC 865, CW, Angel, checking in and out at LIvestream.
This is WRCR 952, McDonough 22. Tonight on the Buckhead repeater, check me in, but I'm not sure how my signal sounds on the Buckhead machine, so I am on the base station, so not sure if I'm clear enough, but if my signal's messy, then just go ahead and pass me over, but other than that, I'll be standing by for your call out. McDonough 22.
This is WSI 977, McDonough 24. I don't think I got through a while ago, so we're going to try it again. We are off the Zeppelin repeater.
This is Atlanta 297. Check me in and check me out.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins. If I just scroll down a little bit further, I would have seen Mike was on the ball with the YouTube check-ins and with RF check-ins. Let's hit these RF check-ins first. We have Atlanta 244 Adam in Covington is in and out. Gainesville 62 Marty in Lula is in and out. And McDonough 24 Robert, we got you first time around. We heard you. Zebulon is sounding very good. So glad to have that situation resolved. Toccoa 33 Matthew in Pickens, South Carolina. We've got you in and out. CW 16 Angel in Athens. We've got you in and out. McDonough 22 Tim in Stockbridge. Also sounding great on the McDonough repeater. We got you marked as in. Atlanta 297 Matthew in Ackworth is in and out. And let me go ahead and grab some of these YouTube check-ins while we're here. We've got WRYZ727 Miko in upstate New York. We've got Dallas 64 Josh in Dallas. We have a WRQE398R Ferguson in Hayesville, Kansas. We have Atlanta 306 George in Loganville. Rome 11 Mark in Adairsville. Gainesville 58 Jonathan in Oakwood. Atlanta 785 Rick in Marietta. And a guest check-in from WSDY 234. I'm going to say this wrong, I'll bet you, but I'm going to say Nasser. Thank you for checking in with us tonight. Atlanta 1150 Tony in Canton. Atlanta 336 Jeff in Monroe. Columbus 25 Peter in West Point. Chattanooga 208 Robert in Chattanooga. And a guest check-in from WSCJ 674. Oh, Chattanooga 20. Oh, it's part of the Chattanooga 208. I see. 209 is our guest check-in tonight from Chattanooga. Nasser, would you make a comment in the YouTube chat if I got your name right? And if I didn't, can you help me out with pronunciation? I'd appreciate that. Maybe you already have. I haven't had a chance to look. But I'll take a peek at that first chance I get. Let's continue on with check-ins from any repeater anywhere. This is the part where we often get doubles, so please check the air before you make your check-in and try not to step on anyone. Net control standing by any repeater anywhere.
This is Whiskey Sierra Foxtrot Lima 995, Atlanta 1126, Joseph in Snellville, checking in.
This is WRKA 361 Atlanta 710 Scott in Roswell, checking in and checking out.
in as a guest. Yeah. I'm mobile from the White Oak Mountain repeater. My name is Kevin.
All right, let's go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins. Let's see. It looks like we've got a Fort Mountain check-in that we couldn't quite make out, but we did see that coming in on the Fort Mountain repeater. Just a very poor signal. We heard Atlanta 1126. Joseph in Snellville is in with us tonight. Atlanta 710. Scott in Roswell is in and out. And we heard Kevin on White Oak, but we couldn't quite get the call sign. But we do have you in the log, Kevin. So if you can come back with your call sign, that'd be great. If not, we'll call on you when the time comes. Hopefully you can improve your signal between now and then, and we'll be able to have a conversation. But it was really, really rough copy there to get that in there. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and kick things off. We got a light turnout tonight, but that's okay. Tonight's topic, as we mentioned, is terror attacks, and so some of the things that we're thinking of, if it were a matter of a mass shooter that was at an event, and this is one of the reasons why Woodstock puts on some really great concerts, and there were some bands that I was really would have liked to have seen. 10,000 Maniacs played Woodstock this year for free. I would have loved to have seen that show. And there were a couple other really good acts at the Woodstock. But I really don't care to be in a crowd of that nature anymore. It's a shame. And it's not COVID. It's Las Vegas. And it's so many other events where people have been targeted. If it's not a shooter that's taking out random people in the crowd, maybe it's somebody driving along and decides to run into a crowd of people with their car. It's such a different world now than it was just a couple of decades ago. And these things all come to mind when I think about going to an event like that. So we haven't been to any of these free concerts for really quite a long time. And partly because I don't want to be in a crowd, partly because I don't know what kind of creative chaos may come from being in a crowd like that. And the safest thing I can think of is to not be there. I'm not going to be a victim in somebody's driving their car onto the sidewalk or into a crowd if I'm not a part of that crowd. And it seems as though it doesn't make any difference because I've had massive crowds at these concerts anyway. So lots of people either don't care or aren't concerned or have never ever thought about it. But in any case, that's just one of the things that I think about when it comes to doing stuff like that. Let me break. And I can remember not that long ago going to a concert and hearing other people say, I just don't like being in crowds like that. And I was thinking, why not? I mean, what's the big deal? It's just people. But I'm on the other side of that same fence now, and I don't want to be in a big crowd like that anymore.
Well, and it's sad to say this, but the United States has the most gun shootings, the most mass shootings of any country. If you do the research, and I was just looking here recently, we're in the triple digits. In most other developed countries, you can count on one hand how many mass shootings they have per year.
And in a lot of those countries, you can count on one hand how many guns are available.
That too.
To people.
That too.
So but that doesn't mean they're not killings. That there are still things that happen in those countries. They just don't get logged as gun shootings because they don't have the guns. But there's a lot of knife attacks and other weapons that just don't get categorized in the same light. So I think that when you look at the likelihood of violence, it's just so much greater today no matter where you are. And that's, I think, the key here. Because if we roll it all up into gun violence, that skews the numbers just a little bit because the availability of guns is so much greater here. And you can be certifiably nuts and still be able to purchase a gun in this country. So there's very little restrictions to very few people that maybe shouldn't have firearms, but they can still get them. We really, it's a tightrope, right? So we don't want to pass laws that restrict everybody from being able to get their guns, whether it's for self-defense, whether it's for home defense, whether it's for hunting and sportsman activities. These things should be available, but at the same time, I don't know. We maybe need to look at how people can be qualified or disqualified from having handguns. And I'm not a fan of the red flag laws. I don't like the idea that somebody can just call the authorities and say, that Rogers guy, I don't know, you ought to have a look at him. And then here come the cops and they storm in and they take all your weapons with little to no investigation and little to no recourse on your side. So if something like that happens to someone, you gotta hire lawyers. You gotta get a defense in place to go and prove your innocence. That's not how it's supposed to be. That's not what our Constitution says. So I don't like that aspect of gun laws. We've got to do a better job, and I think ultimately we just have to do a better job, at mental health. But I don't know. Go ahead. You think I should? You think that red light means I need to get off the key? All right, we'll do that then. So these are just some of the thoughts that we have, and of course, it's more than just mass shooters because people have been known to fly airplanes into buildings. People have been known to drive vehicles into a crowd. And it might not be a mass shooting. It could be something that's just much more targeted, like the thing that happened to Emory. Still not clear as to what the motives were there, but there had to have been something very specific about a small group of people. And oftentimes we just never really know what the catalyst is in some of these cases. But the potential is always there. You could be going into work tomorrow and face something of this nature, even though the work that you do is not violent in any way. I mean, what violence do the people at Emory engage in? They're there to help people. And if somebody didn't help somebody good enough, is that what
someone has a bad day and now they want to take it out on everybody.
So many triggers, and then if it gets to be a bigger scale thing, let's talk about for a minute if something happens and it affects an entire region, earthquake, hurricane, there could be widespread devastation. We saw that on a smaller scale, kind of a big scale, but it could have been so much bigger. Just think about what damage that hurricane could have done on its way up to North Carolina. We got really lucky because it skipped around Atlanta. It skipped around some very populated areas, and we really got lucky. But driving around after that storm, it was a year after the storm, nearly, and seeing some of the lines of trees that were down, because of that storm in Georgia and in South Carolina, not even in the most heavily affected region. That storm was incredibly powerful. So we're not immune by any stretch of the imagination to any of these things. And, even though you may not consider a storm to be a terror attack, it's going to be pretty frightening while it's going on, isn't it?
You got to run and hide and fight
You're
for your
fight
life.
your way through that?
Yeah.
Right. So, that's just, that's the world we live in today. And so what we want to know is, what are your thoughts and what are your plans? What do you think is your best protection in today's age? Do you go to the concerts? Do you go to public events? Do you engage with large crowds, or do you stay away and try to avoid that?
Well, I'll say this also. I think one of the best protections, of course, besides having protection, is your mind and being aware. I saw a young teenager pumping the gas for his mom last week, and let me break. And there was a guy that came up and congratulated him and praised him for doing that. His mother went and sat back in the car, and the young teenager, while he was pumping gas at night, he put his head down in his cell phone while pumping gas. At the gas station at night. Great that you're helping your mom, but I wanted to tell the guy, just be aware of your surroundings also. Like, someone could have just walked up on him and he wouldn't have noticed.
And that guy that walked up to say, good job there, son, keeping your mom safe, could have been the guy that was there to carjack
because
them.
he didn't see the guy walking up to him.
Keep your head on a swivel.
His voice startled the guy.
Yeah,
the boy, young man.
And maybe that was enough to, be a trigger, be some awareness, and
he put his head back in the cell phone after that. So I don't know.
But that's a key point, and that's something that's so important is to just, that situational awareness. Be aware of what's going on. I was by myself one time with a rental car, and I needed to buy gas before I turned the car in. And I knew there would be a gas station near the airport, because there always is, right?
Usually. Yeah.
No. I think I drove 7 or 8 miles after I went to the airport and went past the rental place trying to find a gas station. And when I finally found one, it was in a rough part of town. I believe maybe it was Detroit. I don't remember exactly.
Ooh.
But I was very uncomfortable pumping gas at this location, feeling like there's a high probability somebody's going to approach me and demand the keys. And, I kind of had it in my mind that if I saw anyone even just walking toward me, I was going to hang up the gas pump and just get in and lock the door. Even whether I'm done pumping or not. I'll go to another gas station if I need to, even if it's drive another 10 miles, because if you've ever been to the Detroit airport, it's a construction zone nightmare. Everything is under construction. Roads are closed. Access is closed. The return lot for Hertz is in a different place than where you pick the car up at. And and it's not even at the airport. You have to ride a shuttle from the airport to that lot. So it's really, really, of all the airports that I've flown in and out of, I have no interest in going back to Detroit for that reason. It's terrible.
Well, like you say, it's situational awareness, and had this been Atlanta, you know the hot spots, what to avoid at night and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you're traveling, sometimes you just don't know, and you're just gonna filling up some gas, and you have to keep your head on the swivel.
Oh yeah, and we had a situation. We flew back from California into Atlanta one night, and we got on the wrong shuttle for the park and ride. Let me break. So many of those park and ride lots have names that are so similar, and I don't remember what the name of this one was, but obviously that's part of the problem is I couldn't remember. But we got on. We had our parking ticket with the spot number written on it and everything. It's for a completely different shuttle than the one we were on, and it took us a little while to figure that out. But it was late at night, and we're in some dark areas. But I'll tell you, the people were fantastic. I was trying to be situationally aware, and it was almost because there's nothing out there. They made efforts. They made good efforts at keeping us safe, and they got us dropped off at the correct park and ride lot. The shuttle bus driver took time out to take us to the other place that they're not getting paid for. So I tell you, I think that the people around here are different. And even when you're in, and I've driven through some of the parts of town that you got to wonder, pasty white guy probably shouldn't be here. But I've never really felt like I'm in trouble. So I think it's different here than it might be in some areas. Detroit is not a place that I would be comfortable in.
Detroit is known to be a little rough around the edges.
Yeah,
rough city kind of.
Well, and their airport's a mess. I mean, construction is one thing. Atlanta's had a lot of construction around its airport, but they've never chased the rental companies away and stuff like that. So I don't know why there's a difference, but if you got to fly to Detroit, be aware and be careful. All right, should we get into it? Do you have anything else we need to cover here?
I think we're ready to get into it.
All right, looks like Houston is first. Houston, what are your thoughts on safety and security today versus just a couple of decades ago? A completely different world. We didn't have to worry about being out with crowds. What are your thoughts?
Good evening, Net Control. Well, I used to get out a lot, but now that I'm up in the years and kind of hard to get around, I don't get out that much. But yeah, I think things have changed a lot. I don't know. I don't mind telling you my age. I'm 78 years old and proud of it, and hope to be around for another 20 or 30 years. And I guess we'll just stay at home if there's a problem, if there's any kind of big problems or storms or earthquakes or any of that stuff. So we'll stay at home. I've got food, I've got water, and got energy. So I don't know what else to say about it. I'd stay at home.
Yeah, and I'm not quite as old as you are, but I'm getting closer every day. I don't think it's so much age for me as it is just I don't want to be out around a lot of people. I'd love to go to the concerts if they had half as many people attending, but it's so crowded, and it's the concerts have always been a lot of fun for us, but I just don't want to be in a crowd like that anymore. And I don't think it's really about age. I think it's just social circumstances being what they are. I just don't feel like it's a safe thing to do anymore. Probably nothing will ever happen in the sleepy little town of Woodstock, but I mean, you can't count on that. You just can't count on that anymore. So we've seen people driving into crowds in various cities here lately, and Woodstock doesn't have enough dump trucks to protect from that. They would have to shut the roads off altogether, and that's not going to work either. So, but yeah, I hear you. Staying in, and that's the other problem we have is we have better TVs now than we had a couple of decades ago. So staying in and watching it on TV is not a bad option in a lot of cases. The football games that I've been to, I've never been able to see as well from the stadium as I can from the living room.
Oh, I love watching football games. It's a whole production. You've seen it in 4K, and they got cameras flying everywhere.
Everywhere.
They zoom right in. You can see the pores almost.
I mean, well, and when there's a call in question, right? So they're going to review it. Well, the referees are on the field with the hood over their heads, looking at the replay. We're looking at the replay from every angle they're seeing, and probably more, and we can know what the call's going to be because we're seeing the same stuff that the officials are seeing. So football is amazing to watch, and to be able to get into the replays and the details of any call that's questionable. There's been plenty of times I've watched a game and thought, oh, that's a completion. There's no doubt. He was definitely in. Oh, no. No, in the replay you can tell, no, he wasn't in. Yep. Or no, that ball did hit the ground, or he didn't have possession like we thought he did. So the replays and the cameras and the angles, it is incredible. And being a live production like that, they've got to have some pretty sharp cookies driving the bus to make all that happen. So,
well, and speaking of gatherings, how do you feel about football games? Because those are massive crowds, with that. But everyone has to go through a metal detector. So you would think it is somewhat safe.
Yeah, I'm fine with everybody else going through a metal detector. I just don't like the fact that I have to as well.
Well, that's fair enough.
Yeah, that's the trick, though, isn't it? I mean, we like for instance, when Julie and I go to church, I know there are a number of people that are armed,
Mm-hmm.
Concealed carry. Sometimes it's not as concealed as it ought to be, and when people are moving around, you can tell I can see that he's carrying something, or the shirt comes up enough that you can actually see the weapon. Some of these folks are off-duty police officers. All right, I'm glad that they're carrying. Some of these folks are just the neighbor down the road. All right, yeah, I mean, okay. On the one hand, I'm glad that you're carrying, but on the other hand, this could be the guy, right? This could be the source of the problem. So, how do you know? How do you know who's good and who's bad? How do you know who you can count on in a situation? And just because someone's carrying doesn't mean that they can shoot. And just because someone's carrying doesn't mean that that's the person that you should get with, because this one's going to be able to shoot his way out. I'll be right behind him. No. He might be the first one to get shot. And then there you are standing, target number 2.
Yeah, you got to be proficient with it as well.
That's right.
So
I mean, in that situation, the only one that I'm going to count on as being qualified to carry is me.
Right.
That's it. Everybody else is a wild card. Everybody. And so if I can't carry in a public situation, I'm very uneasy. Now, at the same time, we went to the Atlanta. What's not the hockey team?
The soccer.
The soccer team.
Mm-hmm. United.
United. What a great experience that was. I wasn't crazy about the metal detectors, and wasn't crazy about the fact that my wife could only have a little 6-inch by 8-inch clear plastic purse for all of her personal items to be in. That's kind of that's. But, all right, so that's the same rules for everybody. So I know that nobody in there is carrying, right? I don't have to worry about it. The only people that are going to have weapons are going to be police officers. I'm not comfortable with that. What if it's not a handgun? What if it's something bigger than that? What if it's an explosive device in a parking garage? Or, as someone pointed out, there's actually rail tracks underneath that stadium. What if there's a derailment during a game? What if there's toxic fumes that get released?
One of my favorite shows growing up, MacGyver.
Yeah.
I mean, you could throw this guy in a kitchen in Cleveland, Ohio somewhere,
right,
and he could just come out with, blasting through and, taking the bad guys down and finding a way out. So that ingenuity and being prepared, just using your mind and kind of, what do I have? What mixes with what? And this could, you do the little experiments as a kid with baking soda, but who knows what you can do in a situation where everyone may not have weapons, but you may have to concoct something that could get you to safety.
Well, we've got an entire generation of people that have grown up and have never seen MacGyver.
Oh, that's sad.
And
sad. That's so sad.
Well, but more importantly, have never considered, the potential that everything can be used in some way. And so that's one of the things they talk about in Run, Hide, Fight, right? If you get past the run, you can't get away. You're cornered. There's only one exit, and the shooter is at that entrance. There's no way around him. And there's no place to hide. You've got to fight. Well, everything around you might be a weapon. As if you get your hands on a fire extinguisher.
Right.
You can create a diversion by making a cloud of dust that can't really be seen through, and you can use that to your advantage to get to some place of safety. You can shove a shopping cart at somebody, or you can use that as a diversion to make the shopping cart crash into something a couple of aisles away from you. You can, all the things that are around you in a store are things that might be weapons, or they might be tools that you can use to aid in your escape. So, in the run, hide, fight scenario, when it comes down to the fight portion of it, there are no rules. And you have to be prepared to make a tool or a weapon out of virtually anything.
And speaking of MacGyver, he was, I believe, an FBI agent, one of the coolest ever. But our FBI.gov has on their website, they have a safety guideline on what you can do in an active shooter situation. They have a phone number that you can dial. They have PDFs that public safety or anyone can download. And they have a lot of tips on their website, just in case you're faced in a situation. They have some really good information here. So the run, hide, and fight is on their website as well. That is one of the plans that they advocate for as well.
Well,
there was an interesting comment on our YouTube chat tonight from Freedom Fighter. He said if you do have to fight, you fight like the third monkey on the ramp at Noah's Ark.
Wow.
Well, I mean, let's face it. That's the reality, right? If you've got an active shooter situation, the third monkey concept is exactly what you're dealing with. Because if you don't make it onto the Ark, you're going to be in a flood.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be in a flood. So
yeah.
That's an accurate assessment, I would say.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And there again, the only one that you can really trust when it comes to concealed carry is the person that you are. It's you. You really. That's the one you can count on. So in every situation, let's break. In every situation, you might have 10 people that are good marksmen, that are comfortable, competent, capable, or you might not. And you can just as easily follow somebody who's armed into trouble and peril as you can into safety and rescue. So be careful who you trust. I know who I trust, and everybody else is a variable.
Right.
There's some degree of trust and not trust, but there's only one that I truly, really trust. So something else to keep in mind. Well, let's go ahead and continue on because there's a million things to talk about, but we only have a handful of people that really want to come in and discuss things. So let's go on to our next check-in. We have Atlanta 313. Stephen in Suwanee. Stephen, do you have any comments for tonight's net? Any experiences that you'd like to convey?
No, just some personal thoughts. My wife and I are big concert goers, and we're under the impression that, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Don't really worry about, someone in the crowd being, crazy enough with a gun or whatever. You can't control people. Gun control, I'm a strong advocate about, against gun control, and it's the people that do the damage. So, just hope that that does happen. The good Lord's going to take care of you, and that's it. But it's a strange times we're living in, and I'm not gonna let the bad guy win. So if there's something I want to go to, I'm going to go to it, and that's just going to be it.
Well, I have to agree. There's plenty of people that do go, and lots of people that seem to comfortable in the idea, and they're either just not thinking of the potential, or they're not worried about it. They believe it'll never happen here, and maybe it won't. But I think that we have to be cognizant. And if you've made a choice and you said, all right, look, this is something that I'm aware has happened in other places. I don't think it's going to happen here, but I'm conscious that it could, but I'm going to go and have a good time anyway. If you're thinking along those lines, I can't do anything but support that. I mean, if you're aware of that and you choose to go anyway, then that's better than the alternative, right? Where you go and you're blissfully ignorant of any potential, and then when it happens, you have made no preparations and no ability to see your way around or out of or that. But if you're going to go and you're going to put yourself in those situations, then be aware. You know, when you're walking down a sidewalk that runs right alongside the street, maybe you want to find a different path instead of walking on that sidewalk. Because Julie and I have walked on that sidewalk at Woodstock a number of times. Now, they've built a barricade between the sidewalk and the road now. So even the city is cognizant of that potential, and they have separated with a physical barrier between the pedestrian walkway and the roadway. But it took a young girl hitting and killing a young mother, but she killed the baby. The mother, was injured. But a 16-year-old girl driving a car had that accident, ruined her life, right? Because as a kid, just learning how to drive, she's killed someone, and it really ruined a lot of the joy of the concert experience in Woodstock, because there's a constant reminder that happened at that place, and Julie and I were there that night when it happened, wow. So I mean, it's not as though it can never happen in Woodstock, all right? So they have put up a barrier between the walkway and the roadway, but if someone were determined, they could probably get a vehicle over that barrier.
It goes back to that situational awareness that we were talking about.
Right.
Even on the sidewalk, if I've got the grandkids, I'm on the outside. I'm on the street side. The grandkids are against the building.
Mm-hmm.
The wife's against the building. It's just that situational awareness where your head's on a swivel.
Right, and that same situational awareness can tell you that it may be a little more crowded, but if I go up the stairs in the middle of the amphitheater and avoid the sidewalk because there are no stairs, I don't like the stairs. I'm going to take the easy way, which is the sidewalk. But if I go up the stairs instead, I'm far enough away from the road. The likelihood is that a vehicle is not going to make it that far into the park. Let's brake. So that's part of that situational awareness and choices that we make. And we can make those choices in a lot of cases and turn a very dangerous situation into maybe a moderately dangerous situation. So I think that's something you can weigh into as well. Is, are you willing to, I mean, like if I were going to go to the concert, I'm more likely going to stay at the top part of the park rather than go down into the bowl of the amphitheater. You can still hear everything just fine. You're farther away, so you don't see as well, but I've never had a seat in the amphitheater close enough that I could see the stage super clearly anyway, If you can't get in the first 10 rows, you may as well be, 50 or 60 rows back. So that I think is part of the consideration as well. But I'm glad to know that you're not afraid of going to the concerts and you're still enjoying yourself. With that, let's continue on. We've got Chattanooga 260. Colt is in Dalton. Colt, what are your comments for tonight's net?
Yeah, there's multiple different conversations here. Chattanooga 260, WSTM 494. As a foreign public servant and a medic, I have to do active shooter all the time. That's one thing. I mean, most people have this glorious image of making holes, but the majority of the time you're plugging holes. That being said, with the training we do here in the Tennessee Valley, in the North Georgia area, the main concern would be someone blowing one of the bridges or the roads over one of the dams and losing water, which would allow the nuclear reactors to not cool down quick enough. There's always all these concerns, but having a way to create holes and plugging holes, that's where it's at. Chattanooga 260, WSTM 494.
Yeah, I've been to two active shooter training scenarios. One was at a church, and it was hosted by Cherokee County Sheriff's Department. They put on the class, and it was a very informative and enlightening class to be a part of. And I couldn't recommend that one enough. If you have the opportunity to sit through a class that's put on by your county, especially if it's Cherokee County, you should do that. The other active shooter class I sat through was one that was put on by a corporation that, it almost no information, and it was really all about what their liabilities were going to be if something like this happens, and almost no information about how you should conduct yourself and whether or not you engage. It was all about the run and hide, and under no circumstances should there be any fight. And I felt like that was very. I thought it was very shallow. All right, for the company to suggest that there's never a reason to fight, and you should always just wait for the authorities to come. That's not right. I'm not okay with that. And although we're not allowed to have weapons on the property where I work, I know that there are a handful of people that do, and I would be very careful if you wanted to come onto our floor and start some stuff, because that's an FAFO situation right there. And it may be the end of a job for some people, but by golly, if I'm alive, I can find another job.
Oh yeah. And speaking of how do you respond, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has a long PDF here on how to respond to an active shooter, how to respond when the police arrive.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very important too.
Yeah.
To know, and that's one of the things that was discussed in the class that the Cherokee County had put on, was that when the police get there, that's a difference maker right there, and you've got to be able to know how to act around the police, especially if you've been armed at any point during the altercation. Even if you're not armed at the moment they arrive, if you've been armed at any point, you're going to be looked at very differently than everybody else in the crowd, and you have to know how to respond to the police in that circumstance.
Yeah, because they're trying to figure out who's who and who has what and who has done what.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be chaotic. Someone could lie about it and say, "Oh,
right.
I'm hurt. Someone hurt me," and they could have been the one that was causing havoc.
That's right. Let's break. And so that was one of the things that was said, was that no matter what you say, if they are aware that you were engaged, even in a defensive role, but you were engaged during the event, no matter what you say, you are a suspect, and you're going to be treated like a suspect until they have reason and evidence to release you. And they have to.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what's what. They're coming into a situation where everyone is saying 10 different stories.
Right. And so what they were saying is, don't be indignant. It sucks, but it's the way it is, and it's kind of the way it has to be, because they're not going to be able to take your word for it, and they're really not even going to accept the word of witnesses around you until they've had a chance to vet all of those statements.
And I don't know how many times I've seen this play out. I know in movies, but how many times do we see like a bad guy go in and rob a bank, and he walks out with the hostages as disguised as a hostage.
Right.
That's played out in many, many movies. So I'm sure that's happened in real life, or at least giving people ideas.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're going to let you get by with that in Cherokee County. I don't know, but
that's good though.
Yeah,
because everyone needs to be vetted.
And that was what he was saying, was that you can't make any assumptions in a situation like that. And so everybody that was engaged in any way is going to be treated as a suspect. They're not going to be mistreated. They're just going to be treated as a suspect until everything can be ruled out. So I thought that was an important thing to know, that if you do engage during a situation of that nature, you got to be prepared to go through the whole process. Because just putting the weapon back in your holster is not going to be the end of that story. That's going to be a matter of what the cops are able to determine. So make sure you're in a position that you can justify yourself. And the best bet in that whole situation is to have the right insurance.
You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's really not all that expensive. So you should definitely look into that. But good stuff, Colt. With that, let's continue on. Probably not a lot of active shooters. Maybe there's an inactive shooter high atop Mount Olympus.
I believe he's got some skills though.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sneak up on that property in the middle of the night.
Oh no.
I probably end up perforated if that happened. So Dane, I'll call before I come.
What is that? I'm hearing my name being used in vain again. Is that right?
No, that's a safe assumption, but no, we're offering due respect. Dana, what would you consider a terror event, and how would you be prepared to see your way through it?
Well, as we all know, a area-wide, a regional-wide event, or even a nationwide event could happen, 50 different scenarios, from outside adversaries trying to make a move on us to homegrown, homegrown folks that, we all remember the Oklahoma City bombing. So more than ever, you're right, we have to, be alert and diligent and always entertain the thought of what if. Let me reset. I'm going to make the choice of probably standing my ground if it was, I couldn't even begin to give an example, but I'll stand my ground here at the house. I've prepped and stockpiled, various items that I will need to remain close to, from food to precious metals to implements to deliver those precious metals. And, I got a great view. I mean, I'm uphill, and that's half to winning the battle. So the only thing I can say is good luck to anybody who wants to try. Other than that, now, if it's a weather event, let me reset real quick. If it's a weather event, none of us can predict that. All we can do is, and that's usually a area-wide event when it does happen, because there is a difference between area, region, and the national. The weather event, if a tornado came tomorrow and took my house, well, I would have to deal with it, the appropriate way, go through insurance and everything else. But, I'm in the midst of a bunch of folks that would be willing to help at no end. So, that being said, I would stand my ground here at the home front. But I'll turn it back over to you.
13 with a comment.
Hang on there with your comment. Was that 313?
All
right, hang on with that for here just a minute. We'll come to comments here shortly. So don't forget what you've got. But we've got a couple more to get through, and then you'll have a chance for your comment. Next on the roster, we have McDonough 22 Tim in Stockbridge. Tim, what are your thoughts with regards to terror attacks, and what's your plan? You're just gonna hang out and see what happens?
Well, pretty much, as far as a terrorist attack or something, you just kind of have to wait till what happens and respond with what knowledge and equipment that you have to take care of that. As someone who has worked in some pretty bad areas of town and carried a personal, weapon on my person with the permit for a little over 30 years, although I'm retired now and don't get out as much as I used to, but Georgia now is a constitutional carry state, so anybody who is eligible can carry a weapon in the state of Georgia these days. Let me break. But I thought I'd speak a little bit to that worst case scenario that y'all were kind of addressing a few minutes ago. You know, if you find yourself in a situation where you have to defend yourself or level under somebody else in a crowd or at home or whatever, how to act and react, but how to be prepared for that. I hope everybody that carries a weapon takes the time and effort to get a little bit of training, even if it's on YouTube. There's a former policeman, cop, and I think he might have been a federal agent at one time on YouTube, who gives out extremely good advice. He used to write for several of the gun magazines out there. His name is Masad Ayub. That's M-A-S-A-A-D-A-Y-O-B as in boy. He is really good, and I learned a lot of stuff from him back years ago. Let me break. I used to carry a .357 Magnum, and I thought, boy, anybody messes with me, they're in trouble. But first time I fired that thing, I fired it in somebody's backyard at a tin can or something or other, and I found out after one shot, my hearing was shot. So I want to encourage everybody out there, whatever weapon you carry for personal defense, make sure you can shoot it without blowing your hearing out, because we all go to the gun ranges and we put on our hearing protection, which we should do and supposed to do. But what if you have to fire that weapon? You don't have time when you're in a situation out in the world and you're defending yourself against a gunman. You don't have time to put your hearing protection on, and your hearing may be your best defense. So if you have to shoot and run or shoot and run, most instances happen within about 15 seconds time. But there are those occasions when, you miss or he misses and you have to run and fire at the same time. You want to be able to hear what's going on around you. So I highly recommend you pick a round. I chose 9mm. I can shoot 9mm a full clip, and it doesn't affect my hearing. So that's why I got rid of the .357 Magnum. I've never actually carried or fired a .45 Auto, so I don't know how those would affect my hearing. But for me, I carry a +P police round in my weapon for the 9mm handgun that I carry. So give some thought to your hearing, and also be prepared to take a life in advance. If you hesitate to pull that trigger because you don't want to take a life, but he's firing at you, that split second could be the difference between life and death, yours or his. So you have to mentally prepare yourself to take a life if you're going to get involved in something like that. Let me break one time more. Also, be prepared for tunnel vision. That's one of the first things that happens to people, especially like us, that, we're not cops. We're just regular people out here. But when you get involved in a situation, gunfire starts going off, people start screaming, somebody's hit, somebody's bleeding, laying on the ground. The adrenaline starts running, and one of the first things that happens to most people is you get tunnel vision. You can only see what's directly in front of your face. So you want to be prepared for that and know how to deal with it. So that's all from the Stockbridge home of McDonald 22 down here tonight. So I'll throw it back to Net Control.
All right, Tim. Yeah, that's great advice. So definitely, you need to have whatever weapon you have. It needs to be something you're competent and comfortable with. And don't just go out and buy the biggest thing that you can find. You need to be capable of handling that weapon with a high level of competence, right? So if the weapon is so big that it's hard to grip and hold properly, you're not going to be a very good shot with it. And going down in size a little bit might improve your odds of survival tremendously. Maybe the bullet's not going to blow somebody in half, but ultimately all we're trying to do is stop them, right? We don't necessarily need to turn them into Swiss cheese. We just need them to stop doing what they're doing. Stop coming toward us. Stop swinging that thing. Stop aiming that weapon, whatever that might be. Just stop it. And if they won't stop it with your words or your actions, then you have to go to the next level. Then that's what we're trying to do. Now, maybe it's the second or third shot, because I mean, at this point, you're obviously in fear of your life. If you've pulled the trigger once, you've done it because you're in fear of your life, and every pull of the trigger after that is an amplification of that first one. So those are the ones that can be the difference makers. You've got to just survive long enough to be able to pull that trigger a second time. That's really what we're dealing with here. And Tim talked about being prepared mentally, about taking a life, and that's also a thing. If you're not prepared for that, you shouldn't be carrying a weapon. And a lot of us probably think we're prepared, and are really not. I think that's a reality, but by golly, when you're in that spot, you gotta have a way out. And even if you suffer some mental trauma, at least you can suffer that alive. Because if you're facing a life or death situation, then the way I see it, there's only one answer. And so good stuff. That's some great advice, Tim. Thank you for that. I want to take just a quick moment here and check in with Freestyle to see if we have any YouTube comments that he wants to summarize for us. Mike, what have you got for us?
Well, good evening. Good discussion so far. I actually wasn't prepared yet. I need to go back, and I started assembling the first half of comments, and there's a few more that I need to grab. A lot of good discussion as I just thumbed through here real quick about self-defense in the state of Georgia anyway, where a lot of our members and listeners are. Discussion about your concealed carry permit, arming and protecting yourself, constitutional rights. Situational awareness is another theme that pops up in throughout here. And there will be a few others. Let me just assemble those comments, and maybe we'll come back around at the end.
All right, I'll give you a couple of minutes to work on that. And with that, we're going to continue on. We had a check-in from the Fort Mountain repeater, but we couldn't quite pull out an FCC call sign. Let's see if that user is still hanging out with us and has any comments for the net. User that checked in on Fort Mountain but didn't get acknowledged, do you want to try? Come back with your call sign and your TAC number again. We'll see if we can get you in here. All right, we still got a placeholder for him in the log, so that'll be okay. With that, we're going to continue on to Atlanta 1126. Joseph in Snellville. Joseph, what are your comments for tonight's net?
Thank you for acknowledging me, Net Control. As an associate business continuity professional with the Disaster Recovery Institute, awareness is a big thing, and the awareness is to lessen the probability and not eliminate the risk. And there's a structure for that. When you see a risk or a hazard, there are 4 responses that can be used. The first one is risk avoidance. For example, let's say there's a wonderful sale on the radios down in the center of Atlanta, but you do not want to go there, so you avoid the risk entirely that something may happen when you don't go. There's also risk reduction. Risk reduction is when, let's say you don't want to go down to that area in the evening or when it's dark, but you're much better with going through during the daylight when there's less, according to you, probability of an issue. There's also risk assignment, and that means you get your best friend, you give him your credit card, and you tell him if you go down there and get one of those radios for me, you can get one for yourself. And then finally there's risk acceptance, and that means that, well, you want that radio a lot more than the risk that you perceive is involved. So as a professional, those are the things that the FBI uses to address it. just remember that if there's enough time, resources, and commitment, that someone who's after you is going to get you. So it's just like the assassination attempt for the president. It's virtually impossible to eliminate all risk involved with a hazard like that, even for the President of the United States. But there are steps that can be taken for you to evaluate that risk. You don't want to become disabled and not be able to live your life because these risks and hazards, they exist every day. My wife and I, My wife and I, we attend the Snellville Police Academy. We go to periodic trainings. We go to the range. We both have. I've had a carry license for over 50 years, since I turned 21. So there are ways to lessen the probability. The first thing that everyone has said, and I totally agree with, is the awareness factor. You look at the younger generation, and they're always on their cell phones. And I like to play devil's advocate and pretend if I was an attacker, how easy it would be to take over some of these people because they have no earthly idea what's going on in their surroundings. Just like I think it was Rogers that mentioned the guy pumping the gas. When I go to get gas, I look around for my surroundings. I put my back up against the either the car or the pump, so I have a field of view, and I'm ready for, if there's an issue, I've got a gas pump full of gas that I can deter an attacker with. So those are some of the things that I wanted to point out. I think those are things that my wife and I live by, and there again, awareness, that's the big one. Just don't go through life with eyes half shut. Pay attention and learn your surroundings and figure out what can be done in case of an incident. Go ahead.
Well, those are some great points, and I think you're on the money. Situational awareness is very important, and the assessment, the risk assessment. That's something we look at, on the railroad every day in terms of assessing safety risks around some of the tasks that get performed out in the field. And man, there are plenty of them. There's so many ways that you can get hurt doing work out on a line of road, maintenance away, signal department, things that you're involved in. And it could be something as dangerous as getting injured by a piece of metal coming off of a rail saw. It could be something as unlikely as just a bee sting. I mean, there are so many places where bees and wasps will make nests out on pieces of equipment on a line of road that maybe only get cabinets that only get opened once in a month. Just imagine how big of a hornet's nest will be developed over the course of a month since the last time anybody was there. These hornets see no activity at this location, and they think this is theirs now. And we encounter stuff like that all the time. The risks and the assessment of these risks are something that is very, very real. And I think it's important that we make decisions based around those assessments. And the risk assignment is valid too. I mean, if you've got somebody who's going there anyway, and he's gonna do it whether you're doing it or not, why not utilize that? And if you think it's risky for yourself, you can remove yourself from that hazard completely and just let somebody else take that on, especially if they're willing to. So I like that a lot. I think that's a very responsible position to take. But most importantly is just assessing the risk at some level. And if you feel that the risk is worth the reward, then by all means engage in whatever that activity is, whether it's concert, whether it's going shopping, whether it's visiting somebody in a neighborhood that you're concerned about, whatever that might be. If you're comfortable with the risks, then okay. But if you're not comfortable with the risks, then let's look at some of the alternatives. And I think that's a great point. So thanks for that, Joseph. I appreciate that. I think I need to have a conversation with Mr. Joseph with regards to an upcoming net event. So I'll be looking for a way to contact you externally here and engage in a conversation. We'll see what we can come up with. Next on the list, we have Kevin on the White Oak machine. We weren't able to get an FCC call sign, but let's see if Kevin has been able to improve his signal and can make it into the air. Hang on, Stephen. I've got your comment noted, and we'll be coming to you here shortly. Kevin, go ahead if you're there.
I might have Joseph's phone number. Let me see. We attend the same with Pamela.
He's definitely a subject matter expert.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't have it.
All right, not hearing Kevin. I'm going to go next to Atlanta 313 Stephen with his comment, and then we'll go to Free Salad here in just a moment. Stephen, go ahead. All right, Stephen may have had to break away. It is after 9 o'clock. That happens sometimes. I hate that we missed his comment, but let's go ahead and see if we have any additional late check-ins or any additional questions or comments for tonight's net. Net control standing by.
849 with comments.
Atlanta 403 with a comment when you get a chance.
Atlanta 295, late check-in, small comment.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge. Well, I'll do that here in just a moment. We have Atlanta 295. Timothy in Atlanta is making a late check-in with a comment. And we have comments from Atlanta 313, Atlanta 849, and Atlanta 403. Let me acknowledge our YouTube check-ins at this time. We have Chattanooga 179. Brett in Chattanooga is a YouTube check-in. Atlanta 355 Damon in Canton. We have a guest check-in from WSJF 982 Joe. I'm not sure where he's from, but glad to have you along tonight. We have YouTube check-in from CW44 Diane in Comer. With Chattanooga 69, the Velvet Elvis Ronnie in Ross. Well, he's in Duluth. Ronnie got lost. Okay. We got you in the log there, Ronnie. Atlanta 964. Richard is a YouTube check-in tonight. Guest check-in from Mr. Roman, WRUJ962. Mr. Roman is in Idaho. We have Lamar, Atlanta 374 is checking in tonight. Rome 12 Mark in Rome. We have Atlanta 95 Lester in LJ, and we have Rome 27 Terry in Somerville. Those are the YouTube check-ins we have at this time. So thanks everyone for jumping in and hanging out with us tonight. Let's go to Atlanta 295. Timothy in Atlanta. Timothy, what are your comments for tonight's net?
Hey, good evening. Net Control, Atlanta 295 here, WSJL 977, Rhino off of Cheshire Bridge Road. Hey, just glad to be here. I'm happy to be here. Glad you guys could have me. I did spend a lot of time in kind of risk mitigation. With being an iron worker, I'd be 300 feet in the air, and we'd be in some hot and heavy situations. But to be honest with you, if I were in a situation like being an active shooter, having an active shooter situation, I'd probably freak out. I wouldn't want to think that of myself, but it just seems terrible, especially in light of recent events and kind of pondering on what that would be like. I do practice, or when I go to the range, I practice clearing clothing and being able to draw my firearm. But really, I think the most helpful I could be is to clear myself to safety and help by staying out of the way. And that's pretty much all I have for tonight. Again, it's great to be here, Net Control. And with that, I'll be clear.
Well, I think that's completely valid, Rhino, because let's face it, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right? And if you're in a situation that you can't contribute to, then you may be a drain on resources that could be used for other people that need help. So if you can find a way out, that's always going to be the best situation, whether you're armed or not, right? If you are very proficient and you are well armed and you are capable of handling the situation, but you have a way to get out, I think that's the right answer. Get out. It's not necessarily your role to insert yourself in the situation and try to control it, because that becomes part of the chaos, and that may or may not be helpful. And I think that's the right answer. If you're not really in a position where you can contribute in a meaningful way to the outcome of the event, get out of there, man. And I think that's the first area of responsibility. That's why they call it run first. Run, hide, fight. Your first obligation is to escape. Get out. Then hide. If you can't get out, find some place to make yourself small and quiet and unseen. And hope that you can get through the event and not become a part of it. So I think that's a great assessment. And being an iron worker, high up on the iron, I'm not one that okay. So here's the deal. It's not that I'm afraid of heights, but at the same time, that terrifies me in a way. I could climb, and I'd be okay at maybe 10 or 15 or 20 feet. And let's face it, if you fall from 20 feet, you're not going to be any less dead than if you fall from 200 feet.
We were talking about situational awareness. That's a whole new ball game.
Chances are a 20-foot fall is equally lethal as a 200-foot fall. And if you do survive a 20-foot fall, is it even worth surviving?
Something's going to be broken.
Something's going to be very, very broken. But if I'm looking down from 20 feet, I can process that in my mind. But looking down from a couple of 100 feet, that's a whole different deal.
Yeah. I had to, doing the video production, I had a job once down at the Atlantic Station. This is probably 10 years ago, and I was hired to film on the side of one of the buildings. And I went up in the scaffold, and it was just the wind blew. And I just saw my life flash before my eyes. And I was like, man, this is not natural right here. Now, I was strapped in and everything, but I was shaking.
Right.
I was shaking.
Yeah.
And I had to do it a second day, and still I was uncomfortable. Let me break. So yeah, I get it. I can do it if need be, but I'd rather not do it.
Yeah. I think I could force myself to be in that situation, but I would prefer. I'm good on the ground, right? I'll handle the ropes. I'll handle the winch. I'll do whatever I can do to assist the project, but let me stay on the ground, and I'll work hard to make sure you're not waiting on me while you're up there. So, Rhino, I appreciate your skill, and I can tell you for sure, I don't have that skill.
and I do have a question for Rhino. Is it spelled RYNO? How is it spelled?
Yeah, we've probably spelled it 8 different ways.
Yeah, Net Control Atlanta 295 here. Yeah, Rhino, R-Y-N-O. I love it. You guys nailed it. I watched you guys kind of go through the different renditions on the YouTube feed. So I cheered when you guys got it right. So R-Y-N-O, been my nickname for many, many years. I appreciate the effort there, guys.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for being a part of tonight's net. Really appreciate your comments. Next, we've got to Atlanta 313. Let's try Steven one more time. Are you there? All right. Well, sorry about that, Steven. Apparently, he had to break away, and I get it. Sometimes the net runs late, and most of us have to go to work tomorrow. Rogers, are you working tomorrow?
I am.
Yeah. Me too.
It's gonna be another long day.
And Gary, you work every day, right?
I'm at work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Rogers has been going since 5 a.m.
Since 5 this morning.
Oh man, Rogers.
Yeah.
But the supper kind of helped me, get that second win.
Right.
Yeah. Long day.
Very good. It's all the salt we put in a burger. All right. Well, next on our list of comments, we have Atlanta 849 Pamela in Duluth. Pamela, go ahead with your comment.
Well, good evening, gentlemen. I'll try to be as quick as I can. First, I want to say Julie did a great presentation today with her tips, and I just wanted to sound that out to her. I already sent her a text, but I want everybody else to know she did a great job. And I thought the FBI Georgia website was a good idea to go check. I'll definitely do that. Let me break. And at the gas station, at the store, I'm always being aware. At the gas station, I will actually circle around the pumps just to check things out. And I always make sure I pull in one where I'm going to pull straight out, that nobody's blocking my area where I'm at, and that I'm safe that way, and watching what everybody else is doing, especially with their phones. And I think that was a good tip also. Let me break. The suggestion that McDonough 22 had, I only got the first name of the gentleman that does that, and would be interested in checking that out also. Let me break. Joseph, Atlanta 1126, that was a great breakdown. I actually got most of that down on my piece of paper here, and that was a good idea of all that, put all that together and come up with the radio example. Great going. Glad to hear 313 out there, Stephen. Sorry he didn't get back in time to do his comment. Hopefully we'll hear it again. I think I covered all that, and let y'all get some sleep tonight, and we'll catch you later.
All right, Pamela. Well, that's a great recap. Thanks for that. And I one thing I really want to emphasize here: if we don't take anything away from this net than this, if you have an opportunity to get some training, do that. All right. If you can go to one of the run, hide, fight classes, do that. If you can take some shooting courses at your local firing range, do that. Sometimes you don't even have to bring your own gun. Sometimes you can rent a gun. You buy the ammunition. You rent the gun. And they will provide some level of instruction. And if you're willing to pay for an instructor, you can get whatever level of instruction that you might need. I recommend that everybody do this, right? Go to the firing range and shoot a variety of guns. Find one that you're comfortable and competent with. Not one or the other, but both. Comfortable and competent. If it's a small gun and it takes more shots, it takes more shots. But the reality is the first time you pull that trigger is probably enough to stop whatever's happening and turn the tables in your favor. So just being armed and competent with a firearm is, in most cases, going to be enough. Now, is it absolutely going to take a second or a third shot? I don't know. I'm not there. You are. And you'll have to make that determination in the moment. But if you don't have any training and you don't have any practice and you don't have any experience, all of those decisions are a lot harder to make. So spend some time, get competent and comfortable with the firearm, and seek training. Just get whatever assistance and knowledge you can from others who shoot more, shoot better, shoot faster, shoot longer, or have been professionally trained, and seek that advice and that instruction. So that I think is a very important aspect. So please, if you take nothing away from tonight, take that. Go get some training, and self-defense classes, especially for women, I think can be very, very beneficial. It doesn't always take a conventional firearm, right? So there are alternatives. There are pepper sprays, there are stun guns. There are other things that we can use for self-defense. I think that all of these things that we've talked about tonight are vitally important. So take all of that into account. We got one more comment here from Atlanta 403. Bobby is at the Vortex, unless they've kicked him out. Maybe it's past Joe's bedtime. Bobby, what are your comments for tonight's net?
I just want to say, lots of good tidbits of information tonight on tonight's net. It was a good one. And to get back to the very beginning of the net, the first area code in the United States was 201. It was assigned to New Jersey, so that's how I know that. And it was assigned in the mid-40s because Bell Labs and AT&T were based in New Jersey. So, I used to have one of those 201 area codes until cell phones came out, and they pushed me out of the 201 area code. But that's what I wanted to say tonight. And, once again, good tidbits of info, and we'll talk to you later. WRAT 241, Atlanta 403, clear.
I'm in.
All right, comment. You made it in there just in time. Who do we have?
Hey, this is WSIS 715 Chattanooga 51, and I didn't get at the beginning of it and everything. I missed almost the whole net because I have my grandkids here. I just wanted to be on the book.
All right, Chattanooga 5-1. We're going to get you in the book, and thanks for checking in with us tonight. I guess there we go. 5-1. There he is. All right, we've got you in the log, so thank you for that. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up tonight, right? So one thing I want to remind everybody: the Chattanooga Hamfest is coming up. It's right around the corner. It'll be a week after this, so a week from Friday, a week from tomorrow, we'll kick off the Hamfest. Next week, the YouTube channel is going to be a replay of one of our episodes. It's a bit late in the live stream, so we might not see it. So I would suggest for folks to go to our Facebook page and vote for an episode you'd like to see us replay next week. If there's something in particular you want to see, if I don't see any comments or any votes on YouTube, on Facebook, then I'll pick something to throw up there for next week. And so the YouTube will be a replay, and we will not be having an on-the-air net. Vanguard will be getting packed up and ready to roll for the Chattanooga Hamfest. If you want to check out Vanguard and see the place where this net takes place every week, see the production facility, all the buttons that Gary has in front of him, screens, microphones, teleprompter, fancy flashing lights that we still don't even know what they mean. All of the stuff that makes Vanguard the unique communications platform that it is. Come on out to Chattanooga Hamfest, and we'd love to show it off and explain to you how things work, and maybe even sit you down and get you on the air. So,
and I think people will be surprised at the size of our cameras as well. For the quality that they produce, you would think these would be ginormous cameras, but I'll just leave it at that. They can come see it. And,
come check out the cameras and check out the whole thing. This is it's a unique platform in so many ways, and it's something that we go all the way back to Studio G, right? So Studio G was the concept that took us from two guys in a small room talking on the radio to being able to produce a better quality presentation. So Studio G was a portable roll-around cabinet. We could go to any environment, anywhere. If we had an internet connection, we could put on a show, and so that grew into what Studio Vanguard is. And then so Studio Vanguard still sports the portability and the mobility that Studio G had. G stood for Go. The Studio B is in development. It's under construction at the moment, and when it comes to life, it will be everything that we've had in Studio B and then some, in a permanent facility that will allow Vanguard to be more deployable, and we hope to be able to get Vanguard out and in service in the field more frequently once we get Studio B up and running, and it will just improve North Georgia GMRS ability to serve the community in so many ways. Let me break. So come on out to the first GMRS Fest, Chattanooga Ham Fest, and hang out with us. We'd love to see you there, and we'd love to spend some time with you right here in Vanguard. And don't forget, we are still taking founding members for North Georgia Amateur Radio Association. So if that's something that interests you and you have an amateur license, go to ngara.net and check out the webpage. You can click on membership from that webpage, and it'll take you to the links to get you into an NGARA membership. Now, what is a founding member? Do you know what a founding member is?
You're one of the first, one of the proud, the few.
That's really all it is. It's a distinction without any real meaning other than you're right here at the beginning. You're right here at the front end of things. So we're going to maintain the founding status for founding members as long as they maintain a membership. So when you renew in 2027, right? So if you become a member now, your membership covers all of 2026. Your renewal will be due in January of 27. So you'll maintain your founder status even after your renewal. Now, if you forget to renew, you may lose that founder flag on your roster, but you'll keep that as long as you keep your membership active. So not a big thing, but maybe it is a big thing, because this is something I think we can all be proud of. North Georgia Amateur Radio Association will be the first of its kind, I think, in terms of large area amateur radio linked repeater network. So we're excited to introduce this, and we think that many of you will be as well. So check that out, ngara.net, and I think that's all we have. Let me find the page that I'm supposed to have in front of me all the time anyway. And I'm going to say this concludes the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we had, wait, time out. I got to go to Free Salad. We got to get the chicken count. And he was going to do a summary of YouTube comments. Nearly forgot. Mike, Free Salad, are you there with that summary? And when you close, you want to go ahead and sign off?
Sure thing. Blue Ridge 63 here. Several good comments tonight. Lots, as I mentioned earlier, about self-defense, concealed carry, ways to practice, and also some less than lethal options. The old man prepper. Sorry, I don't know your TAC call by heart, but your YouTube name, the old man prepper, talked about some less than lethal options through the course of the discussion about concealed carry. So it's great for walking the dog or situations where you may not want or be able to carry a firearm. It's a good comment too, less than lethal when possible or when you need to. Miko had some conversation about, or some discussion about, he's our guest in upstate New York, about availability and legal regulations about firearms up there. Something to be mindful of. Then Freedom Fighter, I think I actually don't know your TAC call by heart either. I'm sorry. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Is it Atlanta 336? I think that's you. Had a good comment that I found interesting. A lot of folks think about EMPs and that scenario being the most long-term disaster to prepare for. He's got some radios and Faraday bags, internet, cell phone, towers, the grid, all that would be wiped out, of course. We didn't talk about that much tonight, but although it is a much more distant possibility and not as prevalent as some of these things that came up in conversation that are part of everyday life these days, it seems. It's still one that's out there, and it would be sort of that worst case scenario. So something to think about as well. But yeah, that's it. Appreciate everybody's comments on the YouTube channel tonight. I'll sign off here. As far as chicken count, I do want to, before I give the number, I do want to acknowledge Noonan40, who will be our official last YouTube check-in or check-in at all for tonight. And with him in the log, 68 is the count for tonight. 68 chickens. This is WRWM 344 Blue Ridge 63, and I am clear. Back to you.
All right, great stuff, Mike. And yeah, less than lethal options. We touched on just briefly, but I think that there's lots of stuff there. There was some good suggestions. I can't remember what they were at the moment, but definitely check out the YouTube live stream and read through some of the comments in the replay, because we had some great suggestions on less than lethal. It's the Byrna less than lethal options. Google that. It's BYRNA, and that's a very interesting product. So check that out. Also, if this is a conversation that interests you, and one of the things that was briefly mentioned, I think in the online chat, but not necessarily on the air, was the conversation about EMPs, and the comment was that it would be the most significant long-term terrorist event that we potentially could face, and I think that's an accurate assessment. If you want to continue that conversation, the Rabbit Hole folks have chosen that as their topic for this Sunday. So definitely tune in September 28th to the North Georgia GMRS Network. For those of you on YouTube, I think they've got a YouTube channel up and running. Are they on every week now?
It should be live.
So look for their, well, you know what? I think there's probably a link right here. There is. Go to the Facebook page and search for the Rabbit Hole post that Lisa put up here just a day or so ago. And there's a link right there to the YouTube live stream, so you'll be able to check out the Rabbit Hole conversation, whether you're local to us on the air, or if you're distant from us and listening to us on YouTube. You can continue the conversation, and you can explore all of the aspects of an EMP that Lisa and Seth will be talking about this Sunday, 7 p.m., September 28th. So definitely check that out. I'm going to have to tune in and see where that conversation leads. I think it will be fascinating. So let's get back to the conclusion of the program. This concludes the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we had a total of 68 chickens, including net control. We will now be returning the repeaters back to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember comments on the YouTube video show engagement with the video and help the channel grow. Tune in next week. Well, you could tune in next week. Dana will be here. Dana's going to lead a conversation next week for us while we're absent. I think probably what we'll be doing is giving Vanguard a good car wash style wash. We've got buckets, brushes, hoses, and we're going to try to clean Vanguard up real good. Anybody wants to come and volunteer for cleanup duty, let me know. Let me break. Send me an email, and we'll see what we have and need for volunteers. Also, still looking for volunteers for talk-in. If you want to operate out of Vanguard at the Hamfest, you'll have an opportunity to work through a pair of Heil Pro 7 headsets and be able to talk to people as they come and go from the Hamfest. If you have an amateur license, you can work the 2-meter band. If you have a GMRS license, you can work the GMRS side of things. And if you have both licenses, you can sit in whichever chair you choose. And again, there will be some opportunities to help with loading and cleanup and things of that nature. So if you'd like to volunteer for any of that, let me know. So no actual net next week, but Dana's going to host a conversation. Thank you for allowing us to serve as your net control this evening. Good night, everyone. This is Atlanta 946 WQIR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is WSAL 368, Atlanta 263. My name is Rogers.
And this is WRUB 711, Atlanta 519. My name is Gary.
We are North Georgia GMRS Network.
and we are clear.
Good night, folks.